It's inevitable that when we would do our weekend intensives in person prior to COVID, or when I meet people and talk with them about infidelity, inevitably the conversation takes a turn to, Samuel, how long are we going to have to do this? Like, is it always going to be like this? Like, when does it get better? A guy not too long ago kind of pulled me aside, and it was kind of like a sidebar discussion where he just went, seriously, like, how long is it going to be like this? Like, when does it get better? Or when will this be over? I've said this before, and I'll continue to say it. We didn't get here overnight. And we got to this place because of either one person's choice or maybe both people's choices within the relationship. It took time to get to this place that we're at. There was a slow fade that probably happened, or maybe it was overnight with a one-night stand. But at the end of the day, choices were made over a timeline. The illusion that we will just fix this, or that this can be just remedied overnight, or that we can just like pimple cream, apply it the next day, things are better. We have this illusion that there is a quick fix, and this culture creates the idea that there are quick fixes for things like this. And all you have to do is be in recovery for about 48 hours and realize there is no quick fix for this. In recovery and even in relationships, there is such a demand for our attention, right? Kids' sports, doctor's appointments, finances, schedules, our work week. And while COVID is in some regions lessening and people are going back to work or what have you, there is such a demand for our attention. The marriage is under attack. The relationship is under attack with so many competing forces. Then you throw infidelity into the mix, and now the struggle is, how do you prioritize us? How do you prioritize our repair work? And then trying to do repair work with all of these other things going on can become so just overwhelming, and it creates a delirium, if you will, that makes you just kind of go, man, how are we going to do this? What is the answer? The answer is almost too good to be true and too simple to admit, but the fact is, if we don't prioritize the relationship and the relationship's repair, it's really no wonder that there are so many relapses, if you will. It's really no shock that many betrayed spouses will have their own affair if the relationship is not prioritized, if the repair work is not prioritized. To think that we can just pack it right back up with all this trauma, all this hurt, all this pain, all this betrayal, all this confusion, pack it up in a nice little box and store it in the attic and think, we'll figure that out later. Let's just keep going forward. And then we wake up one day and we wonder, why are we so miserable? Why are we so angry? Why are we experiencing so many health challenges? Why is our life in such disarray? It's because we did not prioritize the healing that needed to be there for both spouses, not just one. And let me pause for a moment and tell you, that's one of the biggest strengths about our EMS Weekend Intensive. It's for both spouses. Because if we just help one spouse and don't help the other, that's a recipe for disaster. The wonderful approach of our intensive is we deal with 3 recoveries: your recovery, your partner's recovery, and the potential recovery of the relationship. And if you don't reach all 3 of those, I'm sorry, it doesn't usually go well. And if you just help one spouse but leave the other spouse hanging, there's an inequality of healing. And it creates vulnerability that we've seen so many times create certain disaster moving forward. All over society, you see the fact that there's continuing education, right? Doctors, lawyers, mental health professionals are all required in some way to do continuing education. If you want to sell real estate and maintain your real estate license, every year you have to take a certain amount of hours so that you don't make pivotal mistakes that cost your clients hundreds and thousands of dollars. And you have to have continuing education. But in repair work, we think, man, if you read a couple books, if we go out on a date once a week, man, have a good kind of couple of conversations here and there, we're good. That's our continuing education. And I have to tell you, it is poorly insufficient. And there's no wonder why so many of us struggle in our own recoveries, because we're avoidant and we push it to the side, or we kind of check boxes and think, well, we did that and we did that. That was enough. The proof, my friends, is in the pudding, because you get far enough along and you go, man, we're not doing great. We're not in good shape. We're struggling. We have never really developed long-term momentum. And then you have to look backwards and go, but wait, what was the repair work like? Where was the continuing education of the relationship or the repair work? If your recovery, both personal or relational, is just a mere to-do list on a sticky note, I'm sorry, it's very insufficient. And we, especially as unfaithful, we can be so avoidant and we can minimize our pain and our choices because it's an attempt to reduce our shame. We call it shame reduction tactics. And we basically want to reduce our shame. We don't want to go to a group. We don't want to be on camera in a intensive that's done via Zoom. We don't want to be on a call with other people in crisis. We don't want to go get help. We don't want to talk to people. We just want to avoid it. We want to reduce our shame, and so we pack it down and we hide. But the problem is we don't understand that while we think we're protecting ourselves, we are damaging our betrayed spouse or partner. We are continuing to increase their pain, their hurt, their struggle, leaving them high and dry, all because we're, unfortunately, and this is going to hurt, we're so selfish. We're trying to reduce our shame, not understanding that all we're doing is digging the hole deeper and deeper and deeper that we're trying to get out of. As I wind down today, let me give you some closing thoughts. Number one, is recovery forever? Our hope is that recovery from infidelity for your relationship is not forever. My hope is that in 10 years, you're not going to have to go to an EMS weekend intensive about infidelity, but you probably will need to go on a cruise. You'll probably need to go to a marriage intensive. If you want to have your relationship last forever and be repaired, you're probably going to have to keep doing work. You're going to have to read some books, maybe even see a therapist. I don't know. But while infidelity recovery hopefully doesn't have to be forever, your relationships repair and your relationships recovery and the prioritization of your relationship should absolutely be forever. I think if you were to sit down and interview people who've been through our intensives or even have just healed from infidelity in a very strong way, if you were to interview them years, maybe even decades down the road, I bet that they would testify to the fact that they have learned how to keep feeding their relationship. They may be so far down the road of infidelity that they don't even talk about it, but they're feeding their relationship. If it's thriving, if it's healed, and if it's continuing to build momentum as the years go on, I guarantee you they have found a way to feed their relationship. How are you feeding your relationship right now? Number two, Sam, I appreciate all this and blah, 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 yada, 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 great. How long is it going to take? Here's our answer. It takes what it takes. I don't know how long it's going to take, but what are you doing? How hard are you working? Is it a to-do list or is it an Excel spreadsheet that you've got stuff that you're working through, where it's serious, where it's a prioritization, where it's like, look, nothing's more important than feeding our relationship and doing the heavy lifting. I mean, do you want it to be a fragile relationship or do you want it to be a fantastic relationship? The choice is the work that you do. To think that we can just kind of flip the switch on and off in our relationship really doesn't take into account how damaged we are or how damaged our partner might be. And so it becomes very insulting, especially to the betrayed, to think, am I not important? Am I not valued? Am I not cherished? That you would put yourself in, yeah, it's not convenient. Yeah, it's challenging, but you wouldn't put yourself in that place to help me get the help that I need. You wouldn't be inconvenienced for a weekend or 13 weeks or a few months to get me the help that I need, and that you could also get healed. There's an ample amount of courses and intensives and free resources on our page that, yeah, let me tell you, they are inconvenient because we all have our agendas. But if you don't prioritize recovery, if you don't prioritize your own healing, is it any wonder that you find yourself struggling and in so much pain? Now, inevitably, the statement rings out, Sam, it shouldn't be this hard. Who said that to you? Who said it should not be this hard when this is one of the most important relationships in your life, second only to if you subscribe to faith or a worldview that involves a deity of some kind? No other relationship should trump this relationship. Why wouldn't it be hard? Why wouldn't it be complicated? Why wouldn't it have several bumps in the road, especially when there's infidelity, which is a thermonuclear disaster? Why would it not be challenging? Even John Gottman, who is one of the foremost trainers of therapists, would say that the existence of conflict in a relationship does not mean that the relationship is doomed. There's going to be conflict. You're trying to straighten each other out. You're trying to straighten yourself out. You're trying to repair damage from a nuclear disaster. How is there not going to be difficulty? How is there not going to be conflict? How is there not going to be an incredible amount of ups and downs and everything else in between? It is absolutely worth it. Lastly, for my friends who are divorced, you may say, is it going to hurt like this forever? Will the sting of this betrayal or will the sting of my choices hurt like this forever? I don't believe so. I think that doing your own repair work is going to absolutely help you find healing. I think that you'll always wince. You may always wince at your infidelity. I hate that I did that. You may wince at your partner's infidelity and go, that hurt like hell. And that's okay. And so being divorced, it robs you of the opportunity at reconciliation, but it does not rob you from the opportunity to heal yourself, to be able to learn how to love yourself again, to learn how to prioritize yourself again, to learn how to speak up for your needs and wants and desires, to learn what may have led to the choices that you have made. You see, it is okay to love ourselves. It is okay to prioritize ourselves. It is okay to take good care of us.